So good morning to everyone. I would like to welcome all the investors and analysts on this call. Hope you have reviewed our detailed numbers as well as the presentation. We have ended this quarter on a promising note in terms of the toll collections. Across the projects, we have witnessed a double-digit growth YOY for Q4 FY21, ranging from 10% to 19% after eliminating the impact of 6 days of toll collection stoppage in the last year. For the portfolio, the numbers have been stronger, would have been much more stronger had our Amritsar Pathankot project also contributed to the same. However, due to the ongoing farmers' protest, tolling for the project has been halted since last October beginning. We have of course intimated to NHAI of this event and expect compensation under force majeure clause of the concession agreement, where we may receive 50% of the O&M and interest costs as reimbursement in cash and an extension to the concession period to compensate for the revenue loss during the toll suspension period. Our per day collections have improved to over rupees 49.1 million for the quarter ended March 21, even without any contribution from the Amritsar Pathankot project, as compared to 46.8 million per day for the quarter ended March 20, considering only the operational 85 days. A resumption in tolling for Amritsar Pathankot project will take this number to new highs and is expected to lead a stronger double-digit YOY growth for the portfolio in the coming quarters. From the second fortnight of April 2021, various state governments have imposed restriction on the travels considering the resurgence of COVID cases, and this has led to a slight softening of toll collections. As per provisions of the concession agreement, we are eligible for extension of concession period if the toll collection drops below 90% of the average collection before such intervention. Various international rating agencies are forecasting double-digit GDP growth for India, even after the second wave of COVID for FY22. With a double-digit GDP growth for FY22, we expect to deliver around 10 to 12% growth in the revenue for FY22, in spite of the soft collection in the recent weeks. This would further be facilitated by a higher WPI, which for the month of March 21 was reported as 7.39%. Two of our projects, Bharuch Surat and MVR, which are directly linked to the WPI, will benefit from this in the form of a toll rate revision of 7.39% from July 1st and September 1st respectively. With respect to the addition of assets to our InvIT, we are evaluating favorable HAM and BOT projects, and before the end of FY22 should add at least one more asset to our portfolio. I would now request Mr. Rishabh Gandhi to take you through the financial performance for the quarter and the year. Over to you, Rishabh.
Thank you, sir. I would like to present the financial analysis for the quarter ended March 21 compared with the quarter ended March 20. The total consolidated income for the quarter ended March 21 increased to rupees 334 crores from rupees 316 crores in the quarter ended March 20, registering a growth of 6%. The consolidated toll revenue for the quarter ended March 21 increased to rupees 326 crores as against rupees 305 crores in the quarter ended March 20, registering a growth of 7%. EBITDA for the quarter ended March 21 increased to rupees 275 crores from rupees 253 crores in the quarter ended March 20. Interest cost, including interest on premium deferment for the quarter ended March 21, decreased to rupees 35 crores from rupees 38 crores in the quarter ended March 20. Depreciation for the quarter ended March 21 increased to rupees 190 crores as against rupees 172 crores for the quarter ended March 20. Profit after tax for the quarter ended March 21 increased to rupees 50 crores from rupees 43 crore in the quarter ended March 20. I would now request the moderator to open the session for question and answer.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1 now. The first question is from the line of Mohit Kumar from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, sir, and congratulations on a good set of numbers. While traffic growth has been pretty strong in last 3 months, how has the April been faring? April and May is faring. That's my first question. Second is what in case of of course if there is a decline in traffic in April and May, and you apply for compensation, so how in this case you will get extension given that the base itself last year was subdued. I'm trying to figure out the comparison on which the extension will be given for this second wave of pandemic. And thirdly, sir, what was the tariff hike from April for some of our road projects? Those are 3 questions, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mohit. With respect to your query, basically, so as Mr. Menon has explained that from second fortnight of April, we have started seeing some impact of the travel restriction on the project. And just to share with you, April number were around 10 to 15% soft, 10 to 15% soft. Now, with respect to coming to your second query with regard to the extension of the concession period, last time also they have compared basically in terms of the extension or shortfall, they have compared with the previous month only. Because as you rightly mentioned, last year's numbers were subdued. So I think for comparison purpose, probably they should ideally take the previous quarter number or previous month number before the lockdown restriction was started by the various states. Now, with regard to the toll tariff revision, I will request Rishabh to provide the number.
So in 4 of the projects, the tariff revision has been around 4%, and the balance project would be in the range of around 7% for where the WPI is linked to for the month of March.
Understood, sir. One more question, sir. What is the repayment due for FY22 and FY23? If you can quantify the number, and have you taken any extension on your loan agreement in FY21? If you can throw some light.
With regard to secured loan, the principal repayment would be in the range of 55 crore.
For 22, right?
22, that's correct.
And 23, sir?
In the similar range.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohit.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arun Kejriwal from Kejriwal Research. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to understand the lot size that we have for our share is for our unit is 2,500. On Friday, we had another InvIT being listed with a lot size of 100. Trying to understand the guidelines behind it. Our lot size should also be changed to 100, and we are already in violation of the guidelines laid down by SEBI. Any comments from your end?
Sir, with respect to lot size, we have represented to SEBI, and thereafter they have reduced the lot size. And I think they have reduced it to value in terms of value closer to 1 lakh value in terms of value. I think for the new InvIT, as you rightly mentioned, that the lot size is 100. Anyway, in fact, in various forums, we have raised this issue to SEBI that the lot size should reduce as low as a single unit, because if the retail investor wants to basically acquire, they should be free to acquire this kind of units from the market. We are at various forums, sir, we are representing with the SEBI, and once the appropriate regulation is in place, then definitely in the line with the regulation, we will try to reduce our lot size as well.
Sir, I have spoken to SEBI myself over the weekend, and I am given to understand that IRB is in violation of the law. So I would urge you to please have your compliance officer check the concerned guideline. If necessary, I could contact you and also mention the guideline which I am referring to. It is for us to switch over the lot. We don't need any permission from the regulator. And because our lot is divisible by 100, there is no issue in doing it. This is what I understand as a shareholder of this particular unit.
Sir, we have our compliance officer also, so he will basically put the light on the same. First thing, basically, we are not in violation because the numbers prescribed, it's a minimum lot size, and we have aligned the lot size based on whatever the modification they've done, I think 4 or 5 months back. So I will request Mehul to throw some light on this.
Sir, this is regarding the minimum lot size for IRB InvIT fund. SEBI sometime back have came out with a circular where they have instructed the listed trust to look at reduction in the minimum lot size, and they have looked into the technical problem of odd lot if it may arise due to the reduction in the lot size, and accordingly, in consultation with the exchange, each trust had to work out their minimum lot size. We, with the consultation of the exchange and later on informed to the SEBI, have come out with a minimum lot size of whatever is at present. We are in compliance with the SEBI regulation or even exchange regulation as far as the minimum lot size is concerned. So this much I can say at this point of time in terms of the trading regulation or the SEBI regulation.
Anyway, it's for you to feel. If somebody does contact me, I would be willing to share the information that I have received from SEBI. Sir, one question on the business front. In the coming 12 months, any escalations we are expecting on the toll tariff collection on the various projects?
Sir, Surat Dahisar, MVR and Bharuch Surat, these projects are expecting a toll revision. Bharuch Surat will be from 1st of July and Surat Dahisar and MVR will be from 1st of September.
And what kind of increase in percentage terms would that be?
Bharuch Surat and MVR will be close to 7% plus, and Surat Dahisar will be close to 2.5%.
And this would be for 3 years, am I correct, sir?
No,
or,
it's a yearly revision.
It's a yearly revision. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajiv from Skanda Investment. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My question is regarding the escrow account amounts of 393 odd crores. Would you be able to let us know how much of this is the TC share, that's Tumkur Chitragurda SPV, and is that a share locked up for some reason because of our dispute with NHA?
This particular escrow has been debarred, like there's an embargo on that by court order upon request of NHAI because of the dispute on the additional premium. But now NHAI, because of the COVID restrictions, the court is also not hearing the matter at this point of time since the last 1 year due to COVID. They are only taking up urgent matters. But now NHAI has approached us, and we have mutually decided that we may end this dispute on conciliation. So the process is started for the conciliation. So I think soon we will have this embargo on this escrow account released. Then we will be able to pay all this interest and premium part of Tumkur Chitradurga.
So how much amount of this 393 would be TC share roughly?
Approx 350 crores.
All of it, almost all of it is there. And why did NHAI go to court? I just saw a recent order for contempt that some withdrawal has been done.
The contempt that what they have observed from the escrow account, they have observed some entries in the debit part of escrow account done by the escrow bank itself as its charges.
Oh, okay.
So, so they have misread it and went for a contempt. I think they have understood.
That's a little crazy. Okay. And, the court has asked us to deposit some 63 odd crores, some interest amount. How have we accounted that in our balance sheet? So the court asked us to deposit 12.74 plus 4.24 plus 46.78. So about 63.76 plus some interest on it.
That 46.78 which you have told in the later part.
Right. Right.
Applicable because they considered only 2 months of debt servicing, because InvIT was formed in 2017 and the entire debt got transferred to InvIT. So that 46.7 will not apply. We will be conciliating on the 12.74 and 4.76, and we will soon reach a conciliation in that matter.
Fine. And my second question is regarding an important project which is Pathankot Amritsar, which unfortunately is totally at standstill. Now, because it is now about 6.5 months where the project is not giving any revenue, would you able to quantify what kind of claims we'll be able to make on NHAI? Because you see, this is so material in terms of the health of our InvIT.
Yeah, regarding Amritsar Pathankot, you are very right that last 6.5 months was nil collections. And that was across all the projects in Punjab and Haryana due to farmers' protests.
Right.
However, we have been putting up monthly claims on that, and every month, I think on February last, I remember it was a claim of around 58-60 odd crores.
Okay.
Plus the concession period increase of this 6.5 months. So that is being worked out by NHAI, and we will soon get some response from them. We are expecting some response.
So this 58 crores is for the period up to February, or is it for the February month?
That is what I remember on February. I think up to April we have already raised the claim. So it must be over 60 crores.
Over 60 crores. And the extension we will get is 1-to-1. So 1 day loss.
1-to-1, yes, because there was zero collections. Right?
Only 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Okay.
That is 6.5 months and 6.5 months.
6.5. Okay. But that on an IR basis is not so great because, anyway, if that's the concession agreement, we cannot help it. Lastly, if you can take another small point, Jaipur Deoli, do you see on the ground any movement after some of that relaxation in the mining ban?
Yes, we have seen, in fact, if you look at the last year, we have seen a robust growth in terms of the MAV vehicles on that particular project corridor on the backdrop of some relaxation on the mining activity.
But that has not been fully relaxed yet, as per your take.
Yes.
Not fully relaxed. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dheeraj Dave from Samvad Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for giving me opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So the one question I have is on result page 87. We find this NHAI premium obligation of around 5,700 crore. So which is shown as 440 crore being current and 5305 crore being non-current. This is in consolidated result on page 87, whatever is being submitted to stock exchange. So what is this exactly? Can you give some detail exactly why this is appearing and how it would means how it get accounted for?
So this is regarding the Tumkur Chitradurg project, where we have an obligation to pay a premium to NHAI on annual basis. So in accounting, as per accounting standard, we have created an asset on day one and corresponding obligation has been created on day one. So the obligation is reduced to the extent of actual payment on annual basis, and the asset is amortized over the life of the concession.
Okay. But if you look at 5,300 crore, like if assuming even kind of 20 years life, it would be a kind of 250 crore kind of, if I'm taking just a ballpark calculation. And are we getting that kind of collection, or like how exactly is happening?
See, in terms of the collection will be continuously improving on the project because there will be a 10 to 12% revenue growth, and that collection will get ballooned up if we extrapolate with the current number to the future number. And the premium on this project was initially started with 140 crore rupees per annum, increased by 5%.
Okay. So basically, cash flow wise, while we'll be paying, but there is corresponding assets being created. So what is the impact of cash flow and how it gets accounted in NCDF? If I may understand, I'm not expert in this field, so if you can just we do see some kind of NHAI payment coming in NCDF for this project, but this 5,700 crore, like accounting wise, how critical would it affect cash flow in future?
Yes. Whatever payment we are making every year, that is we are getting reduced from the cash flow. As Rishabh was explaining that we have created an asset, and as against that particular asset we have created an obligation. Out of the obligation, whatever payment we are making, to that extent the liability gets reduced, and for P&L it's the amortization of the asset. Accordingly, whatever the exact payment we make it to the NHAI, that we reduce from our MDCF.
Fair enough. And can you give me some idea about what was the total major repair expense during FY21 for all the projects of company? If you can give breakup by project, that would be helpful.
So on a cash flow basis, the total O&M expense was close to 190 crores. Breakup wise, we'll update on the while we give the annual report.
Okay, fair enough. So this is a 190 crore, and this broadly this would have been paid to the project manager?
Yeah, because it includes the O&M both periodic and routine.
Okay, fair enough. Wish you all the luck. And third part, like if I may just squeeze in, any idea means why we are trading at 53, 54, and if we are looking at project acquisition, which management indicated, IRR on current yield, if I assume 2.5 rupees in distribution, 10 rupees kind of rate, it's coming at approximately 17-18%. Are we be able to get some kind of asset which will give us IRR of 17-18%? And if we don't get into, then does it make sense? Means isn't it dilutive to the existing unit holder if you go for acquisition?
We were also in the same dilemma, and basically as of now this 17-18% kind of IRR which we are talking about is on the BOT asset. And from the listing last 2 years we were looking after the acquisition, but because of this current IRR and IRR available on the project, we were not able to acquire those kind of, we were not able to acquire any BOT asset. But with respect to HAM asset, with there the amount is assured by a kind of assured annuity from the NHAI, and NHAI being a AAA rated, I think HAM project even if bought at lower IRR will add value to the unit holder. Secondly, the acquisition will not be happening on raising the additional equity, additional units from the existing unit holder. It will be done through the debt, and if the cost of debt is around 7.5-8%, and even if we are buying a HAM asset of around 10-11% kind of discounting, WACC of 10-11% kind of discounting, still it will add value to the unit holder.
But it would make, means I know we are restrained by SEBI regulation, but idealistically we should buy back our unit because they are giving us 17% vis-a-vis means kind of it. But anyway, I appreciate management reply and kind of it, and wish you all the luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishabh Dalal from Praveen Retail Shares and Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on a good set of numbers. Just one question on this new asset acquisition that you are planning to make. So you say in your opening remarks that before the end of the financial year 22, you should be adding at least one asset. So if you can, throw some light on what kind of an asset will it and what kind of impact will it have on the NDCF, that would be all from my side. Yeah, thank you.
Basically, to provide any precise number, what kind of addition it will make to the NDCF, and typically this project to begin with initially will not contribute any significant amount in the NDCF. And secondly, we are looking at to acquire basically HAM asset. So there also there will be steady state of cash flow which will be available, and there will be some minor addition to the NDCF. But those details we can provide basically once we are on the advanced stage of the acquisition.
Okay. And so will you be raising some debt or will you be raising equity to actually purchase this new asset?
So basically, probably it will be through debt only. And secondly, in the HAM asset, the cash flow is evenly distributed over the life of the asset. So to begin with, also there will not be any negative cash flow, and whatever the debt we will be raising will be we will be able to service from the project cash flow itself.
Okay. And so after this acquisition, what kind of a target debt to equity will you be having? Just a rough idea. I don't expect a pinpoint number.
Basically, we don't want to go beyond 1:1 debt equity, and we have still headroom of roughly 45 billion. And the entire stuff may not be utilized in this year only. This we will do the acquisition over the period of 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sagar Khanna from EWC. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Sagar.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Can you tell me the projects which will where the term will expire over the next 2 years?
So Surat Desai and Bharuch Surat will the concession period for Surat Desai and Bharuch Surat will expire in FY23.
What kind of cash flows will get impacted? What percentage of our existing cash flows will get impacted, and in turn, what kind of DPUs distributions will get impacted?
Surat Desai and Bharuch Surat contribute to EBITDA around 30 to 35%.
Okay.
And the other projects, if post-COVID recovery, if they normalize, the impact would not be that material.
I think once both the project goes off the table, then
right.
For a couple of years, the DPU, which is around 2.5 rupees per quarter, that may come down in range of 6 to 7 rupees per unit. This is based on whatever the projection valuer has given. On that basis, we are discussing that.
So when you say 6 or 7 rupees, what kind of traffic growth and tariff hike you are assuming over the next 2 years?
I think traffic growth of around 6% and tariff hike around 4.5 to 5%.
So basis that you are expecting a DPU of around 6 to 7 rupees. Is that correct?
Yes, without
excluding Surat Bharuch and Dahisar Surat.
Yes.
Got it. And what kind of projects will get added over the next 2-3 years? Once these projects, what are our plans?
So we have headroom of roughly 45 billion in terms of raising through a debt and acquiring the project. Over the period of next 2 to 3 years, we will try to add at least 1 or 2 assets every year through a debt acquisition. And when we basically acquire the project through debt acquisition, cost of debt will be around 7.5-8%, and the discounting which will typically use will be around 10 to 11% for the HAM asset. By that count, there will be yield accretive to the unit holder to the extent of 200 to 250 basis points. and on that basis we will be acquiring the project.
Got it. Now, since the promoter has already crossed more than 3 years, which is mandated to hold these units, any change in plans or any thoughts of promoter divesting or getting a new partner?
See, basically in terms of partner, definitely at appropriate time we may induct a kind of financial investor or financial partner.
Right.
But with regard to the selling of the unit, we don't have any intent to sell our unit of 16-17% what we own in the public trust.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, sir, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Krishna Prasad from Go Frugal. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I just want to understand the total NHAI, what is the payment we make to NHAI. I understand that the 2 projects which are going out, we are paying more than 50% of the total collection. But for the other projects, if you can give us a ballpark number as to what is the gross total collection and what percentage will go towards payment of NHAI fees will be useful. Thank you.
So the revenue share paid to NHAI is only in case of Surat Desai project and only in MVR project where we have to pay 22.5% revenue share to NHAI, and only in case of Tumkur Chitradurg there is a premium payment to NHAI, and in rest of the projects there is no payment to NHAI.
Okay, sir. I just want to understand, see, you mentioned that the EBITDA is 35, but if I look at your presentation, the EBITDA of the 2 projects, outgoing projects, comes to around 51%, right? So if you can clarify, it would be useful. Thank you.
See, EBITDA definitely comes and the premium goes basically out of post the EBITDA. And today, though the EBITDA will be around 50%, as the revenue of the other project will grow, then basically after the 2 years when these projects are going, at that time their contribution will remain in range of 35% to 40% only.
Even Pathankot, there is no toll collection in the current quarter.
Yes, sir. Yes. No, sir. I'm just trying to see what impact will have when the 2 project goes out, because I'm not able to reconcile how you are arriving at that 7 rupees per unit. So that's the reason why I asked.
Sir, I think we have uploaded last time valuation report also on the website, and this time also we will be basically putting the independent valuers report on the website. They have also given a projection till the end of the concession, along with whatever the liability we have on various projects. If you look at the valuation report also, it translates roughly 6 to 8 rupees of payout per unit basis to the unit holder.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhwani Savla, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Well, in this troubled times. My question is with regards to the effect of implementation of FASTags on all the major toll routes, and how has it impacted our collections, if it is possible to quantify. And I had a second question with regard to the Pathankot Amritsar project, and do we see any resumption in the activity, at least in the near future, on that particular route?
With respect to FASTag, now almost 90% plus toll collection is happening through a FASTag, and in some projects even we have reached 95% in the month of March. With respect to Pathankot Amritsar project, Mr. Menon will update on this.
Yeah, with respect to this Pathankot Amritsar, the farmer strike is going on, and we are unable to guess when this strike will be lifted. But we are claiming our losses to NHAI, and as I have explained earlier also, On February or March, it was around 58 crores, which we have raised the claim. And the concession period increase will be 1 to 1. That is.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Savla. So there's a disturbance coming from your line. Request you to mute your line while the management answers your question.
Mr. Chawla, are you able to hear?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. I just muted my line as per the operator's instruction.
Hope you heard the reply, or should I repeat?
Yeah, can you just repeat the reply on the Pathankot Amritsar? I couldn't hear it clearly.
So I will again repeat. Amritsar Pathankot project, farmer strike is still continuing, and we are unable to guess when this will be lifted. But we have been raising our monthly claim on a regular basis with NHAI, and on February or March it was around 58 to 60 crores, and our concession period increase will be 1 to 1 with the stoppage of toll, number of days of stoppage of toll collection, which means 6 months of stoppage means 6 months of concession period increase, and that is very clear in the concession agreement.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow-up on my first question. Have we seen better realizations due to implementation of FASTag, or is there no material impact or something which we can judge?
So basically, with respect to implementation of FASTag, the operational efficiency has increased, but we can't say because of the implementation of the FASTag, toll collection has improved significantly. So it has resulted more operational efficiency.
Okay, all right. And even so, the cost of implementation of the whole thing, I think it has been able to absorb it.
See, basically all the lanes were FASTag enabled from the beginning only. There is no significant cost.
They have been given some change of scope also on account of
hybrid
lanes, conversion of hybrid lanes. So cost is more or less being reimbursed by NHAI, even though we might have spent a little bit more to increase our efficiency.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, and all the best for the coming quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harsha, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Right. Sir, a couple of questions. Firstly, on the financials of the SPVs. So if you all could upload those financials on the website, that would be very helpful.
So we would be uploading the annual report before the AGM. You can refer to the annual report, sir.
Okay. And the second question basically is on the two Surat-Dahisar and the Bharuch-Surat projects. So basically the loan outstanding to the trust combined for both of these projects is 150 crores. And I have about 1 year, 12 to 14 months of outstanding concession period for the two projects. So the collections over this period will be much higher than the 150 crore. So what would be the surplus money that would be left in both of these projects against the equity investment?
So basically, as the form of distribution is interest, repayment, and to the extent of the profit, it will be distributed by way of dividend. So basically, the entire money at the project level will get upstream in three forms of the distribution. So there will not be money left at the project level.
And also this 150 crore loan itself is from the trust, so that's not the external debt. That also get upstream to the trust only.
Right. So, sir, 150 crores is the loan. There would be another 30 odd crores charge of interest for FY22. So we would be looking at a 180-190 crore of distribution from these two projects in terms of debt and interest. And since both of these projects don't have positive reserves, how will the distribution happen in the form of dividend?
So what will happen, we will distribute minimum 90% depending on the type of distribution we have received from the SPVs. So if it has been received in the form of interest, the same will be distributed in the form of interest.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mohit Kumar from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Mohit.
Yes, sir. Hi, sir. Sir, what was the average tariff hike in the entire portfolio for FY22? If I remember correctly, last year Surat Dahisar had a 1.7% tariff hike, while the Bharuch Surat had 0.4%, right?
So just to share with you, Bharuch Surat and MVR gets a tariff hike, whatever the WPI is applicable as on 31st March every year.
Right.
And Surat Dahisar it's the average WPI during the year.
Correct, yes. So that's the reason you're expecting a slightly higher tariff hike in Bharuch Surat and in MVR, right?
Yes.
Okay. Understood, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Parikshit Kandpal from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Just a question on the taxation rate.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Kandpal. So there is a disturbance coming from your line, sir.
Hello, is it better now?
Sir,
Hello.
I request you to move to a better reception area. There is a lot of disturbance coming from the background.
Okay, one second. Hello.
Yeah, Parikshit, better. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one question on taxation bit. So are our SPVs in the old tax regime or have they migrated to the new EPR? So just wanted to understand whether the dividend will be free in the hands of investors or not. So just some sense on that.
So Parikshit, our SPVs are under the old tax regime only, because these SPVs are eligible for ATIA. So if you are adopting for ATIA, you can't move to the new tax regime. So accordingly, whatever the dividend distribution will happen will be exempt in the hands of the unit holder.
Okay, so only the interest part will be chargeable at the marginal tax rate. Otherwise, dividends will be tax free in the hands of investors.
Yes.
Right. Okay, sir. So any impact of current second wave on the volumes and so if you can give some sense on that. I may have missed it if you have discussed earlier.
Parikshit, as Mr. Menon also said in his opening remark, that post the second fortnight of the April, we have started seeing some kind of impact on the traffic once the state government has started a travel restriction. And the April month's impact was around 10 to 15%. And in spite of the second wave of the COVID, most of the international rating agencies or even ADBs also have projected a double-digit kind of growth in the India's GDP. If that holds true, then definitely we also expect around the overall increase in the revenue of the trust will be in line with the GDP, and there will be additional flow coming from the whatever the increase in the tariff.
So any talks with NHAI on giving further extension? Because in the first Atmanirbhar package, we got 90 to 180 days this thing. So do you think any talks there that we may get some more relief from NHAI on the second wave bit?
Yeah, in the last wave, NHAI has already granted to most of the projects minimum of 90 days extension. So in the current wave, we have already notified force majeure to NHAI, and we will be putting up our claim shortly. Then NHAI will work on it. And I don't think there is any issues raised by NHAI on this kind of force majeure.
Okay, sir, sure. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Menon for closing comments.
Thanks all the investors and analysts and shareholders for this attending this call. We will be uploading our annual report also very shortly, so you may have a look into that also. And in the meantime, please take care and stay healthy.